Hello there, so today I'll be showing you my Narbash and Gadget deck builds. In another video I'll be playing with those builds in a actual PvP game. So we'll start with Narbash first. For Narbash, I wanted him to be a more defensive style support, so I selected Growth in Order. With these two combined, I will be able to support my carry in lane and provide a decent amount of just control over the battlefield, to be honest. To start out with, depending on what the game looks like, I'll either put a point into growth or just straight out buy the Highwayman. Although I usually just go for the Coin Master. This is because the Coin Master just gives me a flat 8 or 16 bonus gold every 10 seconds, while the Highwayman only gives me 75 every 15 seconds, but only if I damage an enemy hero. So Coin Master is better if you're just roaming and you're having to stay back a lot, or just in general not hitting anything. Coin Master is, while Highwayman is better for aggressive build, but not really that much of a case. I also put in some wards if you really do need to buy them. If their enemy jungle is just roaming around too much and taking on your mid lane, then buy these and help your mid lane. For once you really depends on for every 1,000 gold, you spend more. So this really depends. I'll explain this all in the actual battle. So I also have Exoskeleton. This is a great early game lane phase item that will just allow you to stay in lane longer and just survive more attacks. This is a sort of mid-game, early game item. Just healing your allies for a base of 5 health every second. It's really quite nice and really builds well onto your late game item, Vital Waters. I also have a Crippling Glare, which if you don't have much lockdown on your teams, I highly suggest you equip this in order to catch up to your enemies, basically. This build playstyle is also very aura oriented. See that later on. I also have Gates of Salvation. You get this card for mastering Narbash, so you'll continuously get this card as you level him up. You basically heal every 35 seconds. You heal for 275, and it also increases the healing frequency by 4% per attribute purchased. So as the game gets later on, this gets powerful, more powerful, and more powerful. This will also affect your Vital Waters, which increases healing effects by 10%. So yeah, compared with your ability to heal with Vital Waters, this card is very vital for you. Also gives great health regen. Then the final late game item. So these 3 cards right here are your late game. This one is just basically increasing the attack speed and basic armor of your allies. That's all it does. Now as for gems, you mostly want to go for vitality because you want to just outlast everybody. So we'll just start from the top and going bottom. So for agility, I'm not putting in any gems. No gems, because you're only going to skill agility at the very end, or at least put in 1 value point into it for that 2.2% life steal, sorry. For the vitality, for the first gem, I have gain 1.4 HP regeneration and 2.5 mana regeneration while near structures. This is extremely handy in the early game because it'll allow you to stay near your tower. It'll allow you to stay in the lane longer than having to go back and heal up. For the next gem, I have Mana Reactor. This hero really suffers from mana, so and he also plays like a tank. So having a Mana Reactor is very critical. I've had games where they just keep on pounding me while I have my healing active. They just can never kill me because they keep on giving me mana to power up my healing, and I just outlast them. That's basically what this character does. And as the game gets longer and longer, it's actually pretty crucial to have some sort of damage return for this character. Now, you could go for shredding strikes, but mainly not really hitting that often. You're usually casting your spells, usually your ultimate, your speed, or even your stun. So I find that you don't really hit that often, and your attack speed is very slow, so you can't really get that many stacks. Usually the fights don't last that long, so it's not really worth getting that. I skipped this one because none of the gems there I found were really effective, and this gem is just general improved healing overall. So you'll be able to stay in battle longer. The armor aura is nice, but have get this, so you don't really need that. And you don't really cast spells, and your cooldowns. Well, you do cast spells, but your cooldowns are pretty short on their own, so you don't really need the avenging spells. Now, for intellect, I do suggest you put 2 gems into this. The first one is just a mana potion. This is great for early game. Wow, I have a lot of shields. Wow, I have a lot of shields. Okay, so, yeah. You don't really need your cooldowns reduced. Like before, he has fairly short cooldowns, so you don't really need that. And for this, like I said before, he does struggle on mana, so he doesn't really hit too hard, and he's not very good wave clear, but even just having that little extra mana does help a lot. So it is very crucial to have some sort of increased mana, because you're not going to gain a whole lot from your final cards. The only one that will give you it is the Song of Sentinel, but that will be basically the last card. So what I do how I get cards is how I get progress up to my cards is I usually buy Coin Master. Then, depending on the situation, I either put a point into agility if I'm being aggressive, if I'm being a little bit laid back but still trying to stay in lane. But typically I've stopped doing that, so I just get another point into vitality and then go back and get the exoskeleton. Then save up 3,000 for the Radiant Healer. This is a great mid-early game, especially in laning phase, to allow you to just stay in lane and your opponents... I've literally had opponents just wail on us and we just stay in lane and they can't do anything because they have to run back because they took too much damage. I usually skip this because we usually have a lot of control on our team. I immediately go after Vital Waters afterwards, not Gates of Salvation, because the Vital Waters for that plus 10% heal effect is great for your ability heal. And then I go for the Gates of Salvation. I know that will decrease the points, but as the game gets later on and on and on, that it will increase slowly but surely. Then finally, Song of the Sentinel. I usually don't get to this because the game's already over, but it's nice to get this and increase our attack speed. So that's the drummer. I've named him and just stuck the drummer support because he is a drummer. So that's that guy. Now for Gadget. Gadget, I'm still not. I'm debating on whether or not to add a few more cards because it feels like her mid game is a bit weak, but it's alright. So currently I have her starting out with not purchasing any attribute, not putting any points into this, but instead getting the experience. You'll be going into the mid lane and getting that extra experience every 4 seconds is crucial in Gadget. You want to max out her Q right off the bat, because that would just deal a ton of damage. This deck is mostly about dealing massive damage in short bursts, which is very effective, and you can even solo 3 heroes once you get all these cards. I did it in my last match. That basically won us the game. After that, you want to put a point into either intel if you're being pushed back way too much and need to head back often. That will allow you to purchase the Advanced Evolution, which will basically allow you to stay in lane much longer, since you'll be regenerating 5% of both mana and health after you level up. And for your next point, I suggest you either put a point into Vitality for that value point for the health regen, or putting the point into Agility, which I also have a gem for, which is just bonus gold whenever killing a minion. And next up is, once you've got those, start just putting all your points into Intellect. You'll need that for late game. So, and then after you get 3 that, Supply Sergeant. So basically this will give you more max mana and more mana regen, and it's an active ability. I don't really like active abilities, but this one I do like. Just gives you straight up 150 mana right off the bat. It's honestly really nice. And then save up for 4 more points and then an additional 500 and purchase the Soldier of Fortune, which is basically every 90 seconds turn a enemy minion into 175 gold and 35 XP, and you'll be replacing the brunt of experience with that, because this will just give you more gold and XP to work with every 90 seconds rather than just 4 XP every 10 seconds. And next up, after you get that, get the Empowering Mana or Thaumaturge. This one is also unlockable as you level up Gadget. So once you get this, you replace the Advanced Evolution with this. You want to keep that mana regeneration because this is now becoming mid to late game. So having the extra mana regen will be great in fights. Basically what this card is, every time you whack or hit, we'll go with whack, an enemy, you gain 4 mana. And this happens every 4 seconds, up to a maximum of 300, and you gain power equal to 1% of your max mana, which can be quite nice. And the next one up, like I said before, you want to go for a purely ability damage build. You're not really a good right click, a good basic attack damager. So just increasing that ability damage by 10% is quite nice, and it also gives you a bit more mana to work with. The last one is Amplification Engineer. So it gives you more power and max mana, but after you cast an ability, which is any one of your abilities, you'll do damage equal to 12% of their current HP as ability damage, which I believe does get amplified by this spell. So it'll deal a crap ton of damage as you cast your spells. And Gadget does have a short cooldown on all her spells. And finally, let's go into the gems. So as mentioned before, a value point into Agility just to get that bonus 3.7 gold and the lifesteal. I don't have any gems into Vitality because she's like a glass cannon, so it doesn't really matter if you level this up early. It won't really affect your game. If you get ganked, you're probably gonna die, to be honest. Unless you're close to your tower. And finally, Intellect, I have all the gems in here. So the first one is just passive mana regeneration, mana potion, which is nice if you're in the early game. Next one is whenever you kill an enemy, max mana gets increased by 1.2. And let me tell you, it stacks with this. So no matter what, no matter how long the game goes, as long as you keep on killing enemies, you'll get stronger and stronger and stronger. So the longer the game goes, the better it is for you. And then finally, since she doesn't have really any good healing or passive healing, you absolutely need this 3.1% lifesteal, basically. So whenever you damage anybody with it, you get healed for that amount. And it does stack with this, so it's nice. And also gives you some good mana regen. Finally, I was not showing. Okay. So basically, Ruthless spells. Gives you ability armor, which is quite nice, but you deal 1% ability damage for every 10% of the enemy's heroes missing health. So this really can one-shot any really one-shot a tank if they are like half HP if you are maxed out on intellect. And finally, overpowered spells, which increases the mana cost that you need to cast, but they deal an additional 28.1% bonus damage, which is just insane, to be honest. And also gives you a bit more health regen and power to work with. So yeah, that's Gadget. She's a glass cannon, so around that fact, I just made her spells more incredibly powerful. You must be in mid lane for this to work. Otherwise, you're not gonna have the gold to work with it until you get your Soldier of Fortune. So, yeah. So that's it. I'm not gonna do the jungle deck. That'll be a later video. But for now, hope this helps you in your future counters or just in general deck building. See you guys later.